a quote I posted on Instagram where I put a lot of my little writings from over the years. I got thousands of them sitting in a notebook based on things that were going on in my life, from the time of being a teenager until now. But I got quite a few DMs asking for more details or what do I mean, or some people saying it's not okay to just leave. So I figured I'll follow up with a little extra insights on this one. But my own life, where I grew up, how I grew up, you had family that essentially abandoned you. You had good people and not so good people in your life. Relationships come and go. It's like the one thing that I kind of learned is once someone really stopped caring, they might keep you around for convenience. And I realized I didn't really want to be kept around for convenience. Whether it was a friendship, even family, to be honest. I've had to leave some family behind, relationships you're in where essentially, like, I don't want to say you're being used, but that's kind of how it feels sometimes, even with friends, where it's like you only add this value to this person's life, and as long as you offer that value, they'll stick around. Um, they don't really care about you, but you serve a purpose. And for me personally, I never wanted to serve a purpose for somebody else. And as I was doing research for a book I'm working on, actually I'm trying to get it published right now for the right deal, called Second Act, and I'm sure the publisher will want to change it because that's what they always want to do. But it's talking about reclaiming life. I originally wrote it for middle-aged men, people 30s to 50s that wanted to figure out what's next in life. And I felt that as they got around 37, 38 years old, it's like, what's next? What's now? You've done so much, and what's the second half of your life looking like? During the process of writing that book, I talked to, a lot of, men and women, a lot of those that were either never married or divorced, unhappy. And a lot of the stuff came back to just sticking around too long. And I definitely saw a trend of, I should have left 5 years ago. Hell, I should have left 10 years ago. A couple of people obviously said should have never have done this to begin with. Um, but, and as I'm getting in conversations and doing research with people and, witnesses with friends and family as well over the years, business associates, it's just they knew the person stopped caring years ago, but it's just that you keep going through the motions, and then essentially you're kind of just squandering your youth. And I think that's where a lot of the conversations ended up going of, God, I just wish I would have done this, 2 to 5 years ago. Now, I do remember talking to people that also said they wish they wouldn't have left and they thought the grass was going to be greener. Yeah, they got out in the dating world and it was like, man, this is hell. Maybe the person I was with wasn't so bad. I should have worked on it. But it's like, who knows? It's how do you continue a relationship with somebody that just doesn't care anymore? And maybe that's the thing. Maybe those people who regretted leaving, maybe they weren't at the point where the other person stopped caring. Maybe they just wanted out or they were tempted by someone new. That I can't speak on. So I had this thing where I kind of keep my circle very small, and I learned that as a teenager. As I got older, it gets to the point where you don't even need any friends. It's if you have good friends, then they're worth keeping, right? But as far as do I need friends, I can read a book, I can learn something new, I can take a class, there's so many things I can do to keep myself busy and be happy. Because a lot of times it's better than being surrounded by people that don't really care about you. And then you get into topics of relationships, whether you stay single, whether you're going to get married, stay married, get divorced. It's a lot of people stay together for convenience. And again, that's what I learned. There was a lot of people I talked to during research for the book that you know mention we share a household together, or they have a child, we're parenting, but we're kind of two separate entities. And it's like, you got to do what you got to do at that point. I'm just saying, for me, if you're in a situation, if I'm in a situation, I don't want to tell you what to do, um, where I just feel like I'm only there to serve a purpose, or I'm there out of convenience, or you're just kind of going through the motions, and it's like it's just time to go, and it's time to cut this off and move on. And some people will say that's cold, but if you do this at 40 years old and you go on for a decade, you wake up at 50, do you really want to squander your 40s, when in a relationship, for example, that was not productive in any way? You're miserable, you're unhappy, and look, it's probably easier trying to meet someone new at 40 than it is at 50. So, for those that wanted an explanation on this, I mean, this spans friends, it's family, it's relationships in general. That I always I want to be in a place where I'm valued and I'm wanted, and not valued in the sense of I serve a purpose to somebody else. It's just that maybe someone appreciates your time in your company or something. I can't explain that. I never want to be someone's purpose, and I certainly don't want to be sitting around, spending time with anyone that doesn't really care. And I think a lot, the one, I'm thinking about, I had quite a few people come back to, there's a thing that people kept saying that, and it's particularly about relationships, maybe one or two friendships, that it seems like, I want to ad lib the quote here, but it seems like anything that I said, the other person would bite my head off. And I think a lot of people have been in a relationship at some point where they feel like they couldn't speak, or they were out with friends at breakfast, and as you say anything, and they're just kind of just nitpicking at everything you say. And it's when things get to that point, I think it's time to just go. I don't know if I've ever seen a case where a friendship or relationship, bounce back from that. I mean, maybe your parent does that to you, right? But a lot of people that I was talking to were married, men and women. It just seemed like they could do nothing right, and everything they said or did was just met with nasty comments, got their head chewed off, and you could tell this person just didn't like you. And the thing is, to get to that point, it was probably 2 years of them just not caring at all. I'm not saying give up. I mean, a lot of things are worth trying to save. One thing I do know, though, you can't make someone love you. And if someone falls out of love with you, trying to get them to do that again is impossible. And I think the same things happen with friends. You have these friends that come and go, or they just fall out. And once someone's just not into your vibe anymore, or they don't want to go hang out and get a beer or do this or that, there's no getting that back. Usually you have those buds that you cannot talk for 5 years, and you link up, and it's just like old times. Those people are day ones down for life. And the other people, they just come and go. And I don't know I think we just have an issue in general with thinking that everything lasts forever. Friendships, relationships, on a long enough timeline, everything fails. And as humans, we can't deal with that sometimes. Change is inevitable, and people change. Someone you like today for this reason, they change, and you might not like to know them. Again, on a long enough timeline, everything changes, and I think we have to accept that. Some people and situations are worth fighting for. Other times, when people just don't give a shit about you, probably not worth fighting for. Anyways, I wanted to explain that one because I had so much interest in that quote. Thought I would drop a little extra insight here. So leave a comment below if you've ever had to go through this.